Yo, what's going on, guys? This is DM Trip here. This is my first video, and the reason I made this channel is because I really wanted to voice my experiences that I have experienced through the use of psychedelic substances. Um, and this is going to be my first story or experience that I had. This happened under a week ago, and it is definitely the one that has been the most um eye-opening and I guess life-changing, because it really was something that impacted me a lot. And this was not my first time doing DMT. This is a trip report on DMT, by the way. This is not my first time doing DMT. I had done it probably like 15 times before this, but this was my first, what I would consider a breakthrough, and a breakthrough is kind of a broad term. I've heard a lot of people use that term, but my definition of a breakthrough is complete ego death, where you forget um, oneself and your language, and just totally forgetting everything about reality, and just being completely immersed in this psychedelic experience. And so I experienced this for my first time. Um, it was a Tuesday, last Tuesday, and it was absolutely amazing. Sorry I'm doing such a long intro. I'm just gonna get right into the story. So I had only planned on doing 30 milligrams of dimethyltryptamine. I used the sandwich method, which is most people do some sort of herb, and then they're a layer of DMT, and then another layer of herb, and some people use a pipe, some people use a bong. I used a 1 foot bong with a low amount of water. But instead of using herbs, I used marijuana ash. So I did 1 layer of marijuana ash, 1 layer of dimethyltryptamine, and another layer of marijuana ash. And that's just what I always do, because I really just want the experience to only be the DMT. I do not want to experience like marijuana with it. So, and I didn't really have any other herbs that I could do it with. So this works fine for me most of the time. I've had very few errors, because you do have to vaporize it, and sometimes it's hard to get right. And so most of the time I go for 3 hits, and I try not to take too big of hits, because I want to get all three, so I can get the full experience. And I've had a lot of DMT experiences where I've gotten very close to breaking through, but I could still sense my surroundings. Like, I could hear background noise from the world around me. And this experience that happened to me. I was totally in this psychedelic experience, and I didn't know what anything else was. The only thing that existed to me was that experience that was going on at the time. And so I did have DMT left in the bowl from my previous DMT trip, and that is what caused me to break through, I believe, because I only measured out 30 milligrams, and I've gone up to 50 milligrams, and this was still more intense than that. And so I always get really nervous. I always get pre-trip anxiety, and that's common with DMT and other psychedelics. But I just kind of do it anyways. I take deep breaths, and then I just do it. And so I hovered the lighter above the bowl, and I did my best not to burn the DMT, but I did see it spark a little bit, which means I did lose some, but it was still enough to make me break through. And so I hovered it above it, and the bong started filling with vapor, dimethyltryptamine vapor, and I inhaled the vapor, and it was a big hit. Like, I don't normally take hits that big of DMT, because I just normally don't. And it was a big hit, and I almost coughed. It's normally very smooth, but like I said, I did burn a little bit, so it was a bit harsher on my lungs. And I breathed it out, and there were no visual distortions, but I could feel it building up very strongly, very quickly. And for me, as it builds up, there's a point where it feels like it can't get any stronger, and then it goes past that. And it is very overwhelming. And so I take another hit, and this is another huge hit, bigger than the first one. And I actually end up accidentally swallowing the smoke when I'm trying to hold it in, because as you may know, you have to hold it in for a pretty long duration to get the full effects of the DMT. And so I was gonna go for the third hit. I waited for me to finish like holding in the second hit. I was gonna go for the third one, but I could feel myself being pulled like backwards. It was like I was getting pulled out of reality, and I could physically feel myself being pulled out of reality. And it was its way of telling me that I do not need this third hit. This was enough, okay? And I've never experienced that before in my previous experiences with DMT. And I just felt like I was being pulled out, and so I put the bong down as fast as I could because I knew this was going to be the most intense experience I've ever had. And I had complete it almost just went black. Like I don't really remember much in detail because of how traumatic and overwhelming the experience was. But what I do remember is feeling complete fear, and like almost like I was trying to fight. This is what I think caused the fear. I think that since my ego was being taken away and I didn't like know what was happening, since it made me forget everything, I kind of tried to fight back and hold on to who I was as a person. And that is what caused me to feel the fear. But the fear I felt was not like fear I've ever experienced before. It was like I was waiting to be killed or something. It was so absolutely terrifying. Like I have never felt such fear in my life before. I just wanted it to be over, and I didn't know that there was an over because it was complete ego death. I had no language to draw from. I could not think because what was English? I don't know. What are words? I have no idea. Totally terrifying. And I feel like if I would have just tried to calm down, I would have been okay. But it was just terrifying. And it was like I was just waiting to die. I felt like I was dying, which is a very common thing with DMT breakthroughs, the feeling of dying. And so it kind of passed, and I like opened. I don't know if my eyes were open or closed at all. I think I opened my eyes, and for some reason I thought I threw up, and so I was looking around, still like completely out of it, like. But I was starting to come back a bit. I really don't remember the peak. I think I did too much to remember it in detail. But I was looking around and I was like, did I just throw up? Like, is something wrong? Am I dying? Like, it just didn't feel right, okay? And it was really scary. And then I finally just said, okay, I'm okay. I need to calm down. And I lied on my back. And I don't know if I had my eyes open or closed still. But I remember it was like my lifetime and the different choices that I've chosen throughout my life and how it impacted the rest of the universe. And I could literally see it. And I know that doesn't really make much sense, but it makes sense to me because it's what I experienced. It could have not been what I think it was, but it's just how I interpreted the things that I saw or the things that I experienced. And so it was like I could see my lifetime, like my whole lifetime, and the different roads I went down throughout my life and the choices I made and how it changed everything. And it was like I was seeing my life from God's perspective, if you believe in God, or a God. It's really hard to explain, but it was the most amazing thing I have ever experienced. It made me feel so much more confident in who I am as a person. And I am so glad that that happened. And I was like going through my lifetime and ripping apart every detail of my life. And I could see everything that held it together. And I just felt so much joy. I just went from feeling like I was about to die to feeling the best thing in my whole entire life. And then I started doing the same thing with how society is set up. I started thinking about what holds up the building blocks of how society is held up and held together. And I know it's hard to understand, but it was the most amazing thing ever. Like, I can't emphasize enough how amazing it felt to be able to view life and how it is set up and how society's set up in the way that I saw it. And I came out of the experience kind of in shock of what I just experienced, because it was like I was just shown like the secrets of the universe, and it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing, and I was coming out of it, and I was just like thanking, like being so thankful to be alive, because it was like a near death experience. Like, that's how I can describe it, how people describe a near death experience or something like that. Um, and I have had an afterglow from the DMT experience that I had since then, and I have been feeling so much better and more confident with who I am as a person. And I don't really care at all what others think of me. I just feel good about myself, and I'm so happy I experienced this. Even though it was quite terrifying, I'm scared of DMT. I really am. But I will try it again in the future. Um, and yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed listening to my first experience that I posted on here. I'm gonna be posting more, so if you want, you should subscribe, because I'm trying to do this whole YouTube thing. Yeah, that's really it. Thank you guys for listening to my story. See you guys.